Okay, I wanted to make a quick video. Um, I was watching a video and it was discussing how having enlightenment as your ambition or your goal isn't really optimal for most people. And they were suggesting that many people, many enlightened teachers, um, almost incarnated, in a sense, from already a much higher level of consciousness, and it was almost predestined for them to become enlightened and do all their teachings and have the impact on the world that they are going to have. And how many teachers who become enlightened, of course they did work for it to some degree. They perhaps did some meditation, some yoga, some inquiry and so on. However, they were suggesting that a lot of them, they were going to become enlightened anyway, no matter what the circumstances were. And it's not really something that they actually worked for, and because of that, even though they are genuinely enlightened, they have a certain misperception to where they try to teach others and say, oh, just do this, just meditate, or so on and so forth. I meditated and I became enlightened or something, assuming that it will work for everyone else, whereas most people aren't even kind of incarnating from a level of consciousness where where those methods are likely to work for them. And I feel like there is some truth to that. And I didn't really even form an opinion of my own. I just kind of literally was watching it and I felt to click record and just kind of think it through myself. Because, of course, one thing is, right, that you can never tell if someone's enlightened. Like, that's impossible to do because you're not them. So really you can only take someone's word for it. And there's many people and false prophets who have come and generated a lot of profits and a lot of power and benefit and status for themselves through the illusion of portraying themselves as a prophet or as an enlightened person. Like, a lot of people do that. And there's a lot of people who believe themselves to be enlightened, but they actually aren't. So that's definitely something that happens. However, that doesn't mean that all teachers aren't enlightened. That doesn't mean that anyone who claims to be enlightened isn't enlightened. Because there actually are enlightened people, and enlightenment is actually is real. But again, to reiterate, you can never confirm. Like, if I say I'm enlightened, or a teacher says they're enlightened, or someone says they're enlightened, you yourself can never confirm if they are enlightened or not. You can kind of try and judge from their actions, but even that is not 100% accurate. And when I think about all the teachers that I've watched and their enlightenment stories, a lot of them do seem like, I'm not really saying that it is 100% certain that they incarnated and it was their destiny to become enlightened or so on. Because all of this also does kind of suggest that there's reincarnation perhaps, and that they've had multiple lives where they developed more, and perhaps that's kind of it ties in with a lot of complexity, which like reincarnation and so on, that would have to be its own video. And I myself, if I'm being completely honest, like I can say that it makes sense to me that reincarnation can definitely be true as a possibility, but I'm not gonna come up here and say for certain that that's definitely the case. And I don't really see how someone could claim that, because you could say perhaps they have a certain vision. However, it's also impossible to ever really decipher whether any experience you had was a true experience. Essentially, see, because there are illusions in this dualistic plane. There are things which are illusory and things which aren't in the dualistic plane. So, and every illusion appears to not be an illusion. Every illusion appears to be real, right? And everyone who's caught in an illusion doesn't know that they're in an illusion, right? So you can have certain experiences where it seems a certain way to you, but that's not actually the way it is. So you could also have like an enlightenment experience where it seems to you certain that reincarnation is true, but I feel like you would. It's very difficult to say that for certain, because even if you have memories of a past life, that could be an imagination. It's very difficult to say such a thing for certain, in my opinion. However, that is a possibility, but nevertheless, if it is, I'm just right now. I'm just kind of entertaining this. I'm not saying anything is like the way that it is, but I'm saying that it definitely is a possibility. So, could it actually be true that certain people who become enlightened, they always were going to become enlightened, and there's certain people to where the level of development that they're at right now, no matter what they do, they can develop a lot more, but it may genuinely not even be in their capacity or in their sort of destiny or their trajectory to even become enlightened within this life, so to speak. And is it just easier for certain people to where they were always going to become enlightened? Because a lot of the stories that I hear about certain teachers' enlightenments, they all seem like it just kind of happened, and you can. I don't really care if you believe or not, if like I'm enlightened or whatever, but from my own enlightenment experience, yes, I did. I was seeking before enlightenment, and I did kind of become obsessed with the notion at a very young age. However, the way it kind of happened to me, it didn't really feel like there was one thing in particular that I did which caused that. It kind of just happened, and I know that there's people, like, even though I've meditated, I've done psychedelic trips, I've done self-inquiry, I've done all of this kind of stuff, educating on all of non-duality and all these kinds of things, studying so many teachers and so on. But at the same time, there's probably people who have done more sadhana than me, who have done more seeking than me, like decades of seeking, and like you can just tell by what they're saying that they actually aren't enlightened, and they themselves wouldn't even consider themselves enlightened. And as I said, it doesn't just mean that everyone who's enlightened considers themselves enlightened, or I'm also not saying that that there aren't people who consider themselves to be enlightened who aren't enlightened. See, I said all of that can occur, right? But still, when you get enlightened, it's actually something you know. Like, it's not really something that you are like uncertain of, because it's just such a grand shift and an irreversible shift, and it's just something that you always have direct access to. It's like, as long as reality is real, like it can't be collapsed. Like, it can't be, like, enlightenment can't be lost. experiences can be lost. Like you can gain certain pitch, high level access states of consciousness which can be lost, which are only you only have for certain periods of time. But enlightenment itself is an irreversible shift. You can't untoast toast. The toothpaste doesn't go back in the tube. See, there are things that are reversible and some things are irreversible, and enlightenment is irreversible. And yeah, it just seems like there might be some merit to it. I'm not sure. You guys can let me know what you think. Um, are some people just predestined to become enlightened, and no matter what they do, or even maybe it's not no matter what they do, but there's a much higher probability of it occurring, and there's some people to where, and just energetically it does feel like that. Like there's some people to where if I played them a lot of my videos, they wouldn't understand anything that I'm saying. Not trying to like sound, because I speak in very simple terms as well. I'm saying a lot of the things I'm saying are very simple. I try to keep it as simple as possible, but some people just genuinely wouldn't understand. And perhaps they could develop to a level to where they could, but it's just like, and it's not even just about my videos. It's just about any highly conscious person's videos. That the majority of the population wouldn't be able to understand those videos, or they would completely misunderstand them, or deny them, or reject them, or think that that person's insane or something. And yeah, I don't know. It's just something I'm thinking about. So you guys can let me know what you think.